Around 1500 years ago, at the time of Abdul Muttalib, grandfather of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam and direct descendant of Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam, Yemen was under the rule of Abyssinia, and an Abyssinian named Abraha was vice-regent. He built a magnificent cathedral in Sana'a, hoping thereby to make it supersede Mecca as a great place of pilgrimage for all Arabia. He had marble brought to it from one of the derelict palaces of the Queen of Sheba, and he set up crosses in it of gold and of silver, and pulpits of ivory and ebony, and he wrote to his master, the Negus, "I have built thee a church, O king, the like of which was never built for any king before thee, and I shall not rest until I have diverted unto it the pilgrimage of the Arabs." Nor did he make any secret of his intentions, and great was the anger of the tribes throughout Hijaz and Najd. Finally, a man of Kinana, a tribe akin to Quraysh, went to Sana'a for the deliberate purpose of defiling the church, which he did one night and then returned safely to his people. When Abraha heard of this, he vowed that in revenge he would raze the Kaaba to the ground. And having made his preparation, he set off for Mecca with a large army, mounting an elephant. Some of the Arab tribes north of Sana'a attempted to bar his way, but the Abyssinian put them to flight and captured their leader, Nufayl, of the tribe of Khath'am. By way of ransom for his life, he offered to act as guide. Meanwhile, Abraha sent a messenger to Mecca, bidding him to ask for the chief man there. He was to tell him that they had come not to fight, but only to destroy the temple. And if he wished to avoid all bloodshed, he must come to the Abyssinian camp. There had been no official chief of Quraysh since the time when their privileges and responsibilities had been divided between the houses of Abdar and Abdu Manaf. And on this occasion, the messenger was directed to the house of Abdul Muttalib, who together with one of his sons went back with the messenger to the camp. When Abraha saw him, he was so impressed by his appearance that he rose from his royal seat to greet him and then sat beside him on the carpet, telling his interpreter to inquire if he had a favor to ask. Abdul Muttalib replied that the army had taken 200 of his camels, and he asked that they should be returned to him. Abraha was somewhat surprised at the request and said that he was disappointed in him, that he should be thinking of his religion rather than his camels. Abdul Muttalib replied, "I am the lord of the camels, and the Kaaba likewise has a lord who will defend it." "He cannot defend it against me," said Abraha. "We shall see," said Abdul Muttalib, "but give me my camels." And Abraha gave orders for the camels to be returned. Abdul Muttalib returned to Quraysh and advised them to withdraw to the hills above the town. Then he went with some of his family and others to the sanctuary. They stood beside him, praying to God for his help against Abraha and his army, and he himself took hold of the metal ring in the middle of the Kaaba door and said, "O God, thy slave protecteth his house, protect thou thy house." Having thus prayed, he went with the others to join the rest of Quraysh in the hills at the point where they could see what took place in the valley below. The next morning, Abraham made ready to march into the town, intending to destroy the Kaaba and then return to Sana'a by the way he had come. The elephant richly car-prisoned, and when the mighty animal reached his position, his keeper Unais turned him the same way as the troops were turned, that is towards Mecca. But Nufayl, the reluctant guide, had marched most of the way in the van of the army with Unais, and had learned from him some of the words of command, which that elephant understood. And while the head of Unais was turned, to watch for the signal to advance, Nufail took hold of the great ear and conveyed into it a subdued but intense imperative to kneel. Thereupon, to the surprise and dismay of Abraha and the troops, the elephant slowly and deliberately knelt himself down to the ground. Unais ordered him to rise, but Nufail's word had coincided with a command more powerful than that of any man, and the elephant would not move. They did everything they could to bring him to his feet. They even beat him about the head with iron bars and stuck iron hooks into the belly, but he was firm as a boulder. Then they tried the stratagem of making the whole army turn around and march a few paces in the direction of Yemen. The elephant rose to his feet, turned around and followed them. However, the army turned around again. So did the elephant, but no sooner. The elephant knelt again, facing Mecca. This was a clearest of portents not to move one step further forward, but Abraha was blinded by his personal ambition for the sanctuary he had built and by his determination to destroy the Qiblah. If they had turned back then, perhaps they would all have escaped disaster, but suddenly it was too late. The western sky grew black, and a strange sound was heard. Its volume increased as a great wave of darkness swept upon them from the direction of the sea, and the air above their heads, as high as they could see, was full of birds. Survivors said that they flew with a flight like that of swifts, and each bird had 3 pebbles the size of dried peas, one in its beak and one between the claws of each foot. They swooped to and fro over the ranks, pelting as they swooped, and the pebbles were so hard and launched with such velocity that they pierced even coats of mail armor. Every stone found its mark and killed its man, for as soon as body was struck, its flesh began to rot. Quickly in some cases, more gradually in others. Not everyone was hit, and amongst those spared were Unais and the elephant. After that day, Quraysh was named the people of God by the Arabs, and they were held in even greater respect than before because God had answered their prayers and saved the Qiblah from destruction. May Allah guide us, allow us to follow in the footsteps of Abdul Muttalib and his ancestors. Ameen. If you enjoyed this video and would like to earn easy victory over Shaitan today, please like, subscribe, turn on notifications, and share this with your loved ones. God willing.